Mrs. De Silva,
Here.
Mrs. Gillis,
Here.
Mr. Valentine,
Here.
Mrs. Messig,
Here.
and Mrs. Rigby.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's recommended that the board approve this evening's agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Valentine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. Gillis,
Yes.
Mrs. Messig,
Yes.
and Mrs. Rigby.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. For public participation, there are several people signed up for this evening, so I will turn things over to Dr. Marshausen. of Education committees. Does anybody have a committee report?
I do. Yes.
Oh, I'm
Do you-
sorry. Dr. Marshausen just told me he's going to talk more about this in his section of this evening. So
Yeah.
if you can sit through some board committee reports, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'll be quick this time. So, earlier this morning, we had the Senior Citizen Council meeting today, and the Kaufman Chamber Quartet kicked the meeting off with a beautiful performance led by Mr. Kevin Wallach. Dr. Marshausen shared updates on the opening of Bishop Elementary, modulars at Depp Elementary, all-day kindergarten, the preschool edition, the new high school schedule, the cell phone ban, the facilities project schedule, redistricting. We talked about that earlier today as well. And we also talked about property tax reform, and most of the discussion around that was how property taxes are just, hard for lots of people right now. We talked about the impact of CRAs, TIFs, vouchers, and what could happen if property taxes were cut or eliminated. Mr. Mark Mousa shared a presentation on the Young Professionals Academy here at Emerald Campus. This is a program open to juniors and seniors, though he did mention that currently he only has seniors in that program. The YPA allows students to partner with community and business mentors so that they can explore different career pathways while also getting real-world experience. The YPA has a strong focus on learning transferable soft skills that employers are looking for, like communication skills, networking, flexibility, time management, and other soft skills. Mr. Mousa also stated that he's always looking for mentors and partners and speakers. So since we have a lot of people here tonight, if you would like to reach out to Mr. Mousa, you can reach him at ypa@dublinschools.net or Mousa_Mark@dublinschools.net. That's it.
I have a key communicators report. We met virtually on the 16th, and of course, one of the topics of discussion was redistricting, and they had many of the same questions for Cassie that were heard here tonight. Also mentioned report cards. I think the main discussion topic for key communicators was making sure that after the maps are released, and especially after the final map is drawn, that the students know the process of how to either stay, if they choose to stay at their current school, how to do that, and that would be a legally binding process. So just making sure that gets out to everyone. And then that's really all that was discussed for key communicators. And thank you, Cassie, for putting that together.
Dr. Marshausen, are you going to talk on the safety and security within your report? Were you planning within your report? Because I was going to save. Okay. We had a meeting with Union County Sheriff's Department, Delaware County, City of Dublin, Washington Township Fire Department, City of Columbus, which actually I didn't realize how closely we work as needed with their Joint Terrorism Task Force, member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, as it relates to a lot of the threats and things that you often see as a public out in front, but also a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. Very collaborative meeting. I think probably most importantly, just demonstrating how all of those units work together from beginning to end with some of the things that we deal with that are both fake as well as the things that present real challenges. So very encouraging and thankful for those partnerships.
Lindsay, anything? Anything? Okay. I have one report from the Business Advisory Council meeting. And this is our tee-off meeting to the year. because in this first meeting, it's really about what the district does. We have our community partners there, but we talk about what the district does in terms of finding pathways for our kids. So I know tonight has been a lot of heavy discussion, but I want to take a little bit of time and focus on the importance of this work and how great it is. So basically, we have Jen Hinderer and Kevin Patton who run this, and they each have a role in these pathways for our students. Kevin's is more from the student side. And I'll mention U-Science because it's a requirement in 7th grade. It's part of their Prepared for Success trimester course. And in U-Science, it's a way for students to learn what they are good at. And it's really interesting because it's very unique to that individual. So what one student may be, what it may reveal about one student, it won't reveal about their neighbor. And it's designed so that kids start thinking. By no means is this, you have to know what you want to do in 7th grade and you have to have a pathway and all that. It's just to identify, hey, I might be really good at this, or I have an interest in this, or I don't have any interest in this at all. So it kind of gets them thinking about, as they progress into and through high school, what electives are right-sized electives or right-fit electives for those students. Should they be doing YPA, like Mrs. De Silva talked about, Young Professionals Academy, because that's a great springboard to internships they might look at when they get into college. But that might not be for everyone. Maybe somebody wants to consider a tolls pathway. So there's all different things that this early kind of engagement can spark in our students. And Kevin does a fantastic job with that. He even has a podcast where he calls alumni students back in the podcast to talk to students and tell them what to think about and how to think and what to worry about and what not to worry about, and maybe share some of their successes. And then Jen, she's on the partner side of the BAC. So she works with our community partners, and she helps determine with them what they're looking for, and then works with our instructors so that we are really tailoring our instruction to what companies are looking for. And the other thing that's really exciting is we are working on state for credentials through Columbus State, credentials for associate degrees. So there's the possibility that students would even graduate or get an associate's degree before they graduate from high school. So there are all kinds of pathways, whether it's University of Cincinnati for engineering and soon to be medical, where our students can earn credits toward college before they're even graduating. So they're just that far ahead of where we are. And lastly, we asked what the priorities were from the business partners who were there. We asked them what they're looking for. And just a few that I'll point out. The skilled trade piece, they want to know how we incorporate more career tech into the high school environment, because tolls and other, like Delaware County campuses, those spaces are limited. So how do we incorporate that more into high school? They talked about soft skills, which I think Mrs. De Silva mentioned, communication and emails, how to enhance those, how to teach resilience. And, it's one of the soft skills that they all echoed, that's one of the biggest things that our kids need. And then the last part was just how to harness AI in a productive way. They joked about being able to spot AI a mile away, and just, so how do you keep it authentic? How do kids communicate with a potential employer, send an email, respond to something where it's authentic and it's not just AI generated. So that's it from there, but a lot of good things with that. Any others? Are we finished with community? Okay. Moving on to Student Representative Aseel, and I think you have something to share about Sayada. Yes?
Is this on? It's been a while, guys. I'm sorry. Before I get into all of that, I just wanted to go through what we have to update on, on the high schools. And so I'm sure many of the parents here know that Jerome and Sayada have their homecoming coming up this weekend. They're enjoying their Spirit Week as of right now. And sadly, none of you guys got to see me on Pajama Day, but I assure you it was amazing. School pride seems to be high with football going well at Jerome, especially amongst the freshmen who fully adjusted to the high school life. And both Jerome and Sayada have had their theater production starting, with Sayada having auditions underway for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I would also like to mention to the general public that this Monday at Sayota, we have our Volley for a Cure game, and this game is meant to raise awareness for cystic fibrosis while also raising funds for cystic fibrosis. At Emerald Campus, that's me, guys. I'm the representative. Just wanted to get that out there. Many students have begun their internships, and thank you, Mrs. De Silva and Mrs. Rigby, for already mentioning it, both in Dublin Teachers Academy and Young Professionals Academy. Many co-op students went to the Central Ohio Union Skilled Trades Expo event, supported by professionals that represent Columbus, building trades, contractors, trade associations, educational institutions, and many other important leaders in Central Ohio. And I know Mrs. De Silva, thank you for already saying this. For anyone out there who is interested in bringing students to such an event and or would like to become a community partner, they can email emeraldcampus@dublinschools.net, where you will receive an interest form. And the Dublin Business Academy has also had great success in their past T-shirt sales with the Dublin School Rivalry Games, and I'm very excited to see what they have in store. Moving on from that, although my area of focus is Emerald Campus, the other representatives and I wish to consult with the middle schools and elementary schools to see how they're doing. We wish to do our best to serve as liaisons for all student bodies to the board, including those who haven't yet entered high school. On that note, we thought who better to consult first in our newest addition to the DCS community, Bishop Elementary. I had the great privilege of emailing, and please excuse me, Mr. Bauer, I believe, about how everything's been going on at Bishop and how everything started. And thankfully, the start of the school year for Bishop has been an exciting one, thanks to the support from families, staff, students, and district. They are grateful for all departments at the district level with how responsive and flexible they are in getting students and staff what they need to in order to create a warm and welcoming environment and provide high-quality instruction. They had their first family event recently with over 600 people attending. It was amazing to see students and families outside of the classroom, a major success in our eyes. And they are also very excited to be kicking off our rollout of Parent Square as a pilot for the district, which I assume is the elementary standard for Infinite Campus. Infinite Campus. This rollout has received quite a bit of positive feedback from families and have enjoyed utilizing these platforms, allowing families a seamless glimpse into the classrooms. We are continuing to welcome new families each week and have really enjoyed the positive energy around this space. And I'm really sorry. Please excuse my insolence if this is not my place, especially as someone who hasn't received a high school diploma yet, hopefully in May, right? But I do wish to address the parents here because as student representative, I feel like I've got to represent, you know? It's kind of in the name. So I want to just turn around, you know? Like I said, my name's Asil. I'm a senior at Sayota, right? A lot of you, I've been through the exact same pathways that your students have. I went to Indian Run. I came here my 4th grade year all the way from Brooklyn, New York. Went to Davis, and now I'm at Sayota, and now I'm at Emerald Campus full-time, like Mrs. Acela said, right, during the IB diploma program. And I understand your concerns with the new redistricting, right? Sorry, there's a vent right here, so I'm really cold. Sometimes you don't prepare the way you want to. We're all afraid of the unknown, and we have no idea what's going to happen. We have no idea what's going to happen to your students, and I understand that. But as a student myself, I see what the adults don't, you know? I don't see the inequities that you see with the test score reports, with the ELL. I'm bilingual. I went to ELL my first year that I went here, and I learned English, and I get to speak to you all today like this, right? But I never saw that inequality. And when I came to Emerald Campus, I believe that this was the greatest example of what One Dublin really is. All the high schools, they come here, Jerome, Sayota, and Kaufman, and not one time have I ever heard a student from Sayota ever say, I am lesser than my Kaufman or Jerome peers. Not one time have I ever heard a student from Jerome or Kaufman say, I am better than my Sayota peers. Because in the end, we all put forward the same effort that we do to pursuing our studies. And the resources that the Board of Education has, right? They're confined to those resources. They're confined to what's east of the river, what's west of the river, what's north of Emerald Parkway, what's south of Emerald Parkway. You all are too, because that's where we live, right? I live right there across the river. I live right by the Northwest Library. Amazing place, by the way. You guys got to check it out. But Not once have I ever looked at myself and said, I don't have these resources, because these individuals at the board, Mrs. De Silva, she has 2 amazing daughters that I have met personally that have done great things, that they are doing very well in sports and volleyball. If we want to push forward and if we want to say that we are one Dublin, it has not only got to come from the Board of Education, but it also has to come from the parents ourselves and from the students ourselves. Mrs. Messick, I want to thank you. You took this right out of my words, or you were able to form what I wanted to say, an interschool PTO. One Dublin is all of us, and I understand that many of us have come here from Davis and Scioto, and I don't know how many here are Kaufman and Jerome parents, and I wonder where the camera is so I can look dead into it, right? But that's what One Dublin is, and it's all of us. Our community doesn't just come from these people out here, it comes from you. And so when we come up here and we're like, what can we do about this? What can you do about this? And I'm not pushing the blame onto anyone, and I'm not pushing the blame onto them. If we have to work together. And again, I don't have a high school diploma, so who knows, right? But as a student, I've seen inequalities. And even in this instance, and even with test scores, and even with socioeconomic concerns, this is One Dublin. And so I encourage you, into whatever Facebook groups leak the maps, right? Because I'm not on Facebook. Talk about this. Talk about an interschool PTO. Mrs. Beth, I remember you mentioning earlier, the PTO at Sells, they're struggling with funds. You go to Davis, you go to Gazelle, maybe go help out Sells Middle School. At Scioto, we have our own PTO. We have all these pop-ups. We do so many different events. This all comes from us, the community. I may have gone a little sidetracked here, and I'm honestly really thirsty, so I'm gonna turn back around right now. But thank you all. Yeah.
Asil, I just want to say thank you for that. I'm the resident crybaby, so you made me tear up with that. So, but thank you. You are a natural leader. You always bring the comedic relief, a great report, but also a heartwarming message to bring our community together. So, appreciate you.
Agreed. I teared up also, and I don't do that easily. So I just want to say thank you, and I feel like you should charge admission for your reports, because I think that we would pay for that. But thank you for your insight very much.
And I can't wait to give you that diploma when you come down those stairs at the Schottenstein Center.
I'll be doing that.
Fight me.
Okay, moving on to superintendent comments. Dr. Marshausen.
Before I get into my report, just as we talk about process, I'm going to be meeting with 4 board members tomorrow. I'm going to be sharing where our team is in the process in preparation for Monday night's meeting. If tomorrow the board is dissatisfied with the maps that we share and the information that we share, and the board wants to take a different direction, and I've been in consultation with legal counsel today, 2 of you would probably need to get in touch with Mrs. Rigby to schedule a special meeting for Thursday or Friday. The board would likely need to suspend policy 5120, which is the basis by which the authority is granted to the superintendent based on the board's criteria. If the board were to suspend policy 5120, it would probably need to then be remanded to the policy committee to provide the superintendent with the criteria that the board would want to see in redistricting. The board can adopt some policies in an emergency, but the definition of emergency in our bylaws is pretty clear. This would not be considered an emergency, so a change in policy would then require 2 readings, a first reading and a second reading. So I I don't want to have these conversations individually with you because we're all here. And I didn't want these folks to believe that in the individual meetings tomorrow, what comes from those meetings is me sharing with individual board members, not violations of sunshine laws, not conversations. It's me sharing where the internal planning team is, the maps we've looked at, the rationale we've used with you as board members. That's what I had the opportunity to do with Mr. Valentine last week. If at the end of tomorrow we need to do that, Mrs. Rigby would connect with Mr. Kern to get notice scheduled for an emergency or special meeting. It would be a special meeting. There has to be notice given for that special meeting, 24 hours, at which time the board could act to suspend the policy and direct the superintendent to halt the current redistricting process until such time that 5120 could be rewritten. Because I believe as the superintendent, our 8 criteria and the criteria that we're using match what is currently in board policy. I believe that we are fulfilling that based on what the current policy says. So I just wanted to put that out there that that would be the process by which a change would take place if the board is not satisfied with the rationale and the materials that are shared tomorrow in our individual meetings. Does anybody have, do any of you have any questions on that?
I have a question, but
about-
do you want to go?
Sorry.
Sorry. So are you saying that you spoke to legal and they said that we would have to suspend the policy, or are you saying you think we would have to suspend the policy?
I spoke with legal counsel today who advised that I am acting under authority of 5120 and 331901, and that the board does evaluate, and you guys are my bosses. As my bosses, I believe the authority rests in this policy, and we're following this policy now. If the board wanted to add to this policy specific criteria related to socioeconomic balance among schools, the board by all means could direct the superintendent to consider socioeconomic balance. And while we were in policy, I would ask, what are the specifics that you wanted to do that, if that was the desire of the Board of Education? And while the authority to work through and create those attendance zones and do all that rests with the superintendent and their team, if you wanted to change that criteria, by all means, you have the right to do so. I work for the 5 of you.
I have a question.
Yes.
But, okay, so in the policy, letter F is other relevant factors, including those required by law. Why does this not fall under F? Why is this a rewritten policy and halting of the process?
Well, because right now, those other the other relevant factors, I have communicated for 18 months in public the 8 criteria that we're using for redistricting. I have said no less than 4 times in consecutive board reports that no single criteria is more important than the other. And if there is a change in that, I will need directions from the 5 of you, and this does not give clear direction as to what the 5 of you would expect. And I can't make those determinations talking to the 5 of you individually. Because right now, we've been working through a pretty complex process with Cropper GIS, the same process we did before. And up until tonight, I was under the impression that the 5 of you are okay with it. I did share.
But Dr. Marshausen,
I did share with all 5 of you at our previous meeting where I thought the map was going. I had that conversations with all 5 of you in individual meetings at our previous meeting.
you did, and what you said to me and what I'm getting from a public records request are 2 different maps. In all due respect, I feel as a board member a little blindsided and ill-prepared for this meeting tonight because I was never presented with any of these maps. There is a woman who I've never met or even had a name and face until tonight that sent, hey, by the way, these are the maps I received during a public records request. As a board member, the fact that somebody is receiving a map on a public record request and I'm not reviewing it, so no, we've left the area of how this was like redistricting before. We've left that. It's gone. It's in the dust. And so, no, I don't think it's fair for you to say you have brought this to our attention before, because that is not what we sat in your office and talked about. So I just, it's very upsetting to me.
I understand. And Cassie did send to the board the maps within hours of when that public records request was filed. And Mrs. Gillis, I do apologize that it's gone this way. What I'm talking about is the criteria has been consistently talked about, and not weighing one of those criteria more than the others has been something that has been emphasized.
You did mention that to us previously, that there are some that are, with each of the maps that you were looking at, that some criteria are not going to be met, that there's no way to get what you would say a green for all 8 criteria on any one map. But I think what we have heard, and this could be more rumor than true, but I'm hoping it's more rumor than true, is that socioeconomic is not really being considered at all. And I think that's where we're all upset, is because we thought that that would also be an equal one, as it is one of the 8.
It is being considered as one of the 8. Of course it is. And as I said, as we've gone through it, we've looked at each of those criteria with each of the maps and evaluated which maps hit the most of those 8 criteria. But just because one of them may not hit a criteria doesn't mean we've discarded that option.
I think we agree with that, but we want to make sure that socioeconomic status is still within those 8. And it is being considered in the maps that we are choosing, because tonight, in one of your comments, it made it seem like it was not considered at all, and that you didn't care about balancing out Dublin, and I think that's what upset many of us.
I just wanted to share what the process would be if, after tomorrow's conversation, the 4 of you that I'm meeting with tomorrow are unsatisfied with where we are. Clearly, there can't be conversations between us as a board in private. And I would hope that we would all agree we would want to, if we were going to pause a process for additional clarification, we would want to do so before we got to Monday. And that's why I think there is a time sensitivity issue, that if the board wanted that pause, I wanted to clarify in public and with the 5 of you here tonight what that process would look like.
Thank you.
I just have one clarifying question, because I don't remember when it came up, but if nothing happens and we go to Monday, I think I heard, or maybe I heard wrong, that there's only going to be one map Monday evening?
That what we did with the last process was we shared a map, we opened up the comments, there were changes made to that map, not wholesale changes. There were changes based on where streets were, where there were neighborhoods that may have been split. Once we got to the point of sharing the map, that would be the recommendation that I would be making. It was just one map. If we were to, and here's the concern, when we identify where all the maps are and the different criteria that are weighed, if we were to put forth 2 maps that had 2 different subdivisions that were the ones, now we're pitting neighborhoods against neighborhoods, when if we know that one of those maps meets more of our criteria than another, I don't want to create this level of anxiety with another neighborhood or another part of our district if it's not the one that we think we're going to recommend. If there's one that's, if what, so, yeah, I would, ma'am, in all due respect, I would beg to differ that if we were to have another map that had another neighborhood, we would get this many people from the other neighborhood having the same conversations. And I think that's one of the things that several of us have talked about as we've entered redistricting, that the challenge in this space is there isn't an answer to this challenge for us that is going to make everyone happy. And there isn't a solution here that is going to be universally accepted or adopted by our community. And I think our student put it well when change is hard and people are fearful. And
we're not mad about going to Scioto. We're mad about who is going to Scioto as a total. I have no problem going to Scioto. I will not fight you on that. I will get upset if I feel like it's turning into the haves and have-nots. So I don't want you to sit here and speak. We're not mad we're getting moved.
I apologize. I understand. Well, if the way I said that was not my best public speaking conversation. So what I would say is, excuse me, I get paid to do it. Yeah, and every once in a while we have missteps, sir. I believe I've clarified that we have 8 criteria. All 8 criteria are important. I've said that in multiple meetings in multiple settings. I think you heard me say that today to our senior citizens, that all 8 criteria are important. But what I have said is there's not one of those criteria that outweighs the other. And I believe I'm on record dozens of times saying that in public in multiple places, that at the end of the day, how we get to that process of balancing our high schools is based on the 8 criteria. Ultimately, it's about getting our high school enrollments balanced. Mrs. Rigby? Mrs. Dietrich, if we could go to the slides that I had prepared. We had a question about our state report card. State report card were released last week by the state of Ohio. As we have said multiple times, our state report card is largely a snapshot of our students' performance on one day. There have been numerous changes that the state has required, and one of our challenges with the state report card is the moving target that we get. And Mrs. Marple, if you could share a little bit with the public about changes that we've made with early literacy and what we predicted to see there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Board of Education, for a little bit of time tonight. As you know, the report cards were released last Monday, and the Ohio State Report Card evaluates districts across 6 key components, as seen on this slide with a brief description. And although September releases that release is the first time our community sees this compilation of data. We in Dublin City Schools have been deep diving in this data as it's been available and as it comes. For us, data exploration and looking at student achievement and progress is a year-round endeavor. And for our teachers, data-informed instruction is a constant cycle with no beginning and end. It's constant for us. So I think that's really important, right? It's like taking temperature on one given day or multiple given days and a lot of data that comes together to tell a story. As a district, we look at many different data sources, and the report card is one of those that helps inform the decisions that we make. As someone from the academic department in Dublin City Schools, this is part of our work to take responsibility for the students in front of us and really embrace what we're doing as we grow our students. So Dublin City Schools, we're proud of that overall rating of 4.5 stars, reflecting strong performance across all 3 areas. You can see all of the areas on this slide here, and tonight I'd like to just give a quick remark about each of the areas. Achievement at 4 stars reflects our performance index as a district of 97.6. This is a calculation primarily focused in math and English language arts, and it really looks at where students fall above proficiency or below proficiency. 78.7% of our students fell at or above proficient. And we also have a small cohort of non-testing students, and that's a really interesting thing. Students don't test for a variety of reasons, and that does count against our state report card as well. And of course, we want to place specific supports for students falling in those basic and limited ranges. We know that this achievement indicator it really improves through keeping rigor at the forefront and improving achievement for all students. So this is the work that happens at our building level as we set student goals around what we're seeing in the classroom combined with this data. When we look at progress, what we're really looking at is growth. And actually, the report card measures that growth over 3 years, not just a single year. So it does vary from year to year a little bit because of that 3-year span. There are a couple of student cohorts and grade levels that my team is taking a deeper dive into. Value-added state data is the last to be released. We still don't have all of the details. So it's really delayed data for us. So with that said, it's hard to act on it right away, which is why in Dublin we look at the MAP report, which does a similar growth piece. That MAP assessment helps supplement this value-added data. When you look at the gap closing and the graduation, obviously there's big celebrations there in Dublin City Schools. And our buildings actually work really hard at both of those items. Our gap closing measure is really that daily work, considering our student groups in Dublin City Schools. And, to some of the discussion tonight, our teachers are working daily on each individual student to make sure that our students individually close those gaps and over time. And it often takes a while for students to close gaps, but we work hard at that in Dublin City Schools. The graduation component is an interesting one because even though this is the 25 report card, this is really reflecting the students who graduated in 2024. So this is one of those measures that goes back a year. And then as Dr. Marchhausen mentioned, the early literacy, you can see we're at 3 stars here on the state report card this year. And so there is a dip this year in our early literacy, moving from 4 stars last year to 3 stars this year. This decline, and I shared this with the board in a report last week, was anticipated due to a planned shift in our assessment tools. We had to make a really important decision about a year ago, looking at all of the different tools that we use in early literacy, and we really feel like M-Class Dibbles is a better assessment for our students, for us. We're finding that when we're thinking about our literacy support and our groups and our instruction, that it has really good data around the foundational reading skills and literacy skills for students. And so we had previously been using the NWEA map as our early literacy. The state gives you a list of assessments you can choose from. So we made a conscious decision to switch over to the DIBELS as our reporting assessment. What happens then is you're really, because this measure measures multiple years and is looking at students coming off of reading improvement plans, you're measuring a data source from one assessment with a data source from another. We had done some predictive models. We actually talked about this about a year ago. And talked about it openly, that we were hoping to make a switch. We actually anticipated a bigger dip, so it's good news that it only dipped to 3 stars, because this is going to set us up to have the right assessment in place to continue to work on our literacy skills with our students. And then finally this year we have a new component, college career, it's a mouthful, college, career, workforce, and military readiness. And that's really about post-secondary readiness. We knew this was coming. It has been a report-only factor on last year's report card. And we are getting better at collecting the data. Believe it or not, it's really a complex process of looking at graduate data and hearing from our alumni and looking at some of the graduate data. So I can confidently say that our team, I'm really proud about 4 stars. I imagine when we look at the data from the class of 2025, we're going to even see better data, because we've been working on this now for a few years in Dublin City Schools, really drilling down to individual students. And I think, you know, what was shared with Mark Mouse's work is all part of that puzzle of us really thinking about how kids think through what might be next for them, and making sure that they have multiple pathways and options as they move forward. So that is this year's state report card, one piece of what we do in academics. I want to thank the board and the community for their ongoing support, because teaching students is our most important task. We take that task very seriously. We reflect, respond, and support in each of these areas and many more, not on that slide, every single day. Thank you, Dr. Munchausen.
Thank you, Mrs. Marple, and thanks to your team for all your hard work in explaining that complicated report card. And then finally, we get to have some celebration on Friday afternoon at Kaufman High School this year, and this rotates between the 3 high schools. Our annual Alumni Hall of Fame event. We have 7 incredible alum and 1 incredible teacher, Mr. Witt, who does amazing things for us in the Dublin City Schools, who we will be recognizing at the Hall of Fame event. That event takes place in the Kaufman PAC at 5 p.m. We will then recognize those folks out on the field during the Kaufman game. As Azil mentioned, we have all 3 teams home on Friday night, so we'll have 2 homecomings and 1 Hall of Fame, and lots of celebrating on Friday on the fields, and celebrating some great folks who have done amazing things as they've graduated from the Dublin City Schools.
Any further questions?
I just wanted to thank Mrs. Marple and her team, as well as Mrs. O'Connor. If you could pass along to the teachers, I know how hard they work, and that those stars are because of them, and everything that they do, and that gap closing is amazing. So I am very happy to be sitting on this board in Dublin City Schools.
Thank you. We have amazing teachers.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports and action items from the Treasurer's Office. Mr. Kern.
Yeah, I'll make it quick this evening. We just have a few items on the agenda. One thing I did want to point out, you'll see on the donation list a donation from the Alumni Association to the district, as it is dissolving as a separate legally separate 501c3 organization and making a donation to us. But not to worry. Those activities will still be run through Cassie Intercommunications. The Golden Grads, the Hall of Fame inductions and so forth will still occur. But they don't cease to exist as a 501c3 entity, but the activities will still go forward. We also have student activity purpose clauses, a new one and a revision. And also, finally, we have a transfer as the Scioto class of 2025 is closing out its balance and moving it over to the class of 2026. So I did want to add also, as Dr. Marshall mentioned, October 13th, which is our next board meeting, so that is scheduled. We'll be talk about the 5-year forecast and approval as it's a tight timeline, and we'd like to have it done a little beforehand, but because we have to load stuff into the state and make sure it's there, but it is due October 15th. As the deadline has moved up, used to be, at one point, years ago, it was the end of October, and moved up to end of November, but back up to October 15th for this year. And the next revision will be in by the end of February. Will need to be done. But anyway, so that will be the next board meeting. We'll have that presentation to the board.
Okay, if there are no questions, it's recommended by the treasurer that the board approve items 5B through 5D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Valentine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillis?
Yes.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes.
And Mrs. Rigby?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Anything from the Department of Academics?
Nothing. Thank you, Mrs. Marple.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Marple. And we're moving on to operations. Mr. Stark.
I would have one item for your approval tonight, and that is the district's renewal of our property and liability coverage, and also our choice for vendor for student accident insurance, which is of no cost to the district, but something the district offers to all students who require that additional insurance. This is a 12-month renewal. I put in my board report a little bit more about the detail, what's behind it all. It is, we work with Gallagher. They're our consultant for this, and they've done a really wonderful job over the last couple of years in checking the market and keeping us all abreast on what's going on. Big thanks to Brian Kern, by the way. This is a heavy, heavy lift to put all of this together along with Gallagher, and Mr. Kern has been quite helpful on this whole process. So what we're actually recommending tonight is the same thing we've had last year. It is still best in class for our district, and that is for Liberty Mutual Insurance to have the majority of our insurance with 2 cutouts, and that is for crime coverage to go with Hanover Insurance and cybercrime with Palomar Insurance. Those are the 2 cutouts that actually saved us quite a bit of money and also increased the type of coverage we have in those 2 areas. So with that said, we're asking for approval of tonight of approximately $1.186 million for the coverage that will start October 1st and last until September 30th next year.
Jeff, just because we've had some issues with buses, can you gave me some stats today, and you gave us some stats today at Cabinet about the number of bus routes, the number of drivers, the number of absences. Can you just share that with the board in case
Absolutely.
they get concerned?
These are going to be approximate numbers. I will not be using the term a lot, Mr. Andres. We have approximately, where the entire central Ohio area is struggling with drivers. It's just something we struggle with, and you have to have a CDL for it, and there's quite a bit of training. You can't just get someone off the street. There's quite a bit of training that goes into being a bus driver. We like to think we have one of the best programs around, and we also get our bus drivers involved with maintenance things, those who want extra hours. That's something else that attracts drivers here, so if they get extra hours. We have a paint team that does quite a bit of painting around the district. That's all that. We have approximately 140 routes that need to be done every day. That's a lot of routes, individual routes that need to be done. And when we're totally staffed, we'd like to have about 160, 165 drivers. That sounds like a lot more than what you need, but you have to account for sick time, you have to account for extra shuttles that happen, extra things that happen, and you put all that together. We currently have about 148 drivers, and 7 of them are on long-term leave. So that puts us at, as an exact number, almost every day, unless there's a call-off. And there's call-offs every day. People get sick. We have an older, most of the people who are drivers are retirees, so when there's a flu going around or a cold, as there has been the past couple weeks, we're down sometimes 5 to 7 extra drivers. And they really do an incredible job every day with figuring out how to make this Rubik's Cube work every day, with some of our office staff even jumping in, those who have a CDL, to make these routes work. So that's why you may hear, so for example, with our tolls program, the drive time, where they've gotten it down by about 45 minutes. Sometimes there's some issues or concerns that the children are on the bus too long. We just don't have the drivers right now. So it's not a matter of that we don't care. It's not a matter of that we're trying to save money on the kids. It has nothing to do with that. It's pure drivers. So working with communication and Mr. Boney's team in HR, we're doing a two-prong approach right now. You'll see 3 different areas in the district. We have these huge banners up advertising we'd like to have more drivers, and that we're working for a event at the Operations Center at Shire Rings later this fall. It'll probably be on a weekend where we're going to try to advertise and get people to come and walk on a bus, see the bus, and all the benefits you get. And there's quite a bit of benefits you can get, especially for people who are looking for a second job or a retiree, as a bus driver. So we're going to do our best and put that out there. We really do have an extraordinary team of bus drivers. And I know people always say that we have we really do have, I mean, they're pitching in every day. And Brian Killian and his staff really put it together every day. So it's a struggle, and it hasn't really gotten better over the last couple of years. It's actually gotten worse, and it's just the times we're living in the area that we're living in. We're all the Central Ohio schools are fighting for that same pool of drivers and what's out there. So, any questions?
Do we have sub-drivers?
We
and
do.
Do we share those with the other districts like we share teacher subs in the classroom?
That would
or is
be,
that
we do not. Our sub-drivers, now, if they happen to have a job with another district, I don't know that, but we do not share. It would be our drivers.
Thank you.
And they're covered by our insurance and all the things that go along with that.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jeff. It's recommended by the superintendent that the board approve item 8A for renewal of liability and insurance coverage. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gillis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Messick. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Gillis,
Yes.
Mrs. Messig,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Rigby.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Reports from Human Resources. Mr. Boney.
Good evening, members of the board. I'll start tonight with the certified section of the agenda. We have 3 retirements on tonight. Our first is Molly Bailey, who's going to retire from Eversole Run with 31 years in our district. Our next person, Debbie Bender, had her first day in Dublin on September 2nd, 1975. And I may have sent Donna a copy of her first contract where she was paid $8,500 her first year here, but she's going to retire with 51 years in our district from Thomas Elementary. And we wish her all the best and thank you for all that she's done to our district. So pretty amazing. Cynthia Tabor will retire with 22 years in Dublin from Scottish Corners as well. And we wish all 3 of them just all the best. You'll see a recommendation for a student intern in our communications department, along with a few substitutes. And then the next few items are changes to contracts or numbers of days and periods that are worked in our certified group. We have many supplementals that are on tonight's agenda. You'll see our clubs, department chairs, building level activities in this section, and then in the pupil activity section, those are mostly athletics tonight, but we also have some of our athletic event workers on as well. Moving over to our classified agenda, you'll see 1 retirement on tonight. Sandra Overturf will retire as a bus driver with 37 years in our district as well. We wish her the best. You also see 4 new hires on for your approval, and then a few unpaid leave of absences. In the stipend section, there are 12 that are on tonight. The first 2 are revisions to previously approved stipends due to staff changes or corrections to dollar amounts. And then 3 of the stipends are designed to help our incoming freshmen with the acclimation and shift to being in high school. 3 more for peer collaborators, and this work is to help special education students develop skills to help them be successful in multiple domains in each of our high schools. You also find a stipend to pay our mentors who are working with our first-year certified Dublin employees, along with a request to pay our EL department lead at Dublin Scioto High School. And then the final 2 are for math club and math team in 2 of our high schools. And that concludes our HR report tonight.
It's recommended by the superintendent that the board approve items 10A through 10C. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Valentine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Gillis?
Yes.
Mrs. Messig?
Yes.
And Mrs. Rigby?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. I forgot to say thank you, Mr. Boney, for your report, so thank you. Anything for future agenda items? Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gillis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?